Greetings. What business have you?
Is there anything I can help you with, Sir Hans?
Ah, Henry, the very man I wanted. There is something you can do for me. You see? I'm in love.
Ah, there's a new wench at the bathhouse, is there?
Watch it, Henry. This is the love of my life we're talking about, not some wench. The face of an angel, breasts like silk pillows to dream on, and good strong hips. A regular Helen of Troy.
Troy? Isn't that near Prague? I don't know anyone from there.
Never mind, blockhead. What I'm saying is, she's a fine filly, and you can help me win her.
Sounds like fun. I'm all ears.
You, Hal, shall be my messenger of love. You shall bear her a letter and a gift from a secret admirer.
Why me? It's not like you to be bashful, Sir Hans. You can just go and tell her,
Certainly not. Carolina is different to the others. She was educated in a convent and needs to be handled with kid gloves. Romanced. I must court her secretly. It's the latest fashion in France.
And who is this Carolina?
The fairest maid that ever walked the earth. Carolina. The butcher's daughter. You must have noticed a divine creature in the marketplace, unless you're more interested in barnyard animals.
Carolina, I do know her. She's a pretty girl, all right, but, well, a little below your station.
Love knows no station but the heart. And you keep your peasant eyes off her. Your task is simple. All you have to do is get hold of a necklace fine enough to grace her lovely neck. I did have one that I inherited from my great-grandmother. Unfortunately, not anymore.
What happened to it?
I lost it playing dice at the inn. But you'll get it back for me. You're a smart lad. I'm sure you'll figure out a way. And I'll reward you handsomely.
Oh, all right then. Is there something else I should know about this necklace?
I lost it at dice in the Ledechko tavern when I was there to see... Well, that's not important.
So, some dice player from Ledechko won your grandmother's valuable necklace. Haven't you learned anything from losing to Zdena, the bathhouse wench?
My great-grandmother's. And as it happens, I have learned a trick or two. But that fellow has the luck of the devil. No doubt he'll still be sitting there, swindling other folk out of their hard-earned groschen.
Oh, what's the use? All right. I'll go to Ledechko, find this diabolical dice player and see what I can do. Though I'll probably lose my shirt to him.
Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Goodbye.
God be with you, good sir.
Are you the one who played dice with Lord Capon?
Played and won, lad. Fine noble he may be, but he can no more throw dice than I can read Latin.
I can't disagree with you there. But look here, have you still got that piece of jewellery you won from him?
No, I don't. Some noble rode through here and we had a game or two. Only them dice kept falling his way. I was lucky to keep my boots. He's got the necklace now.
Did you know where this fellow was heading?
He was waiting for someone here, but when they didn't show up by midday, he rode on. He mentioned something about camping by the bridge over the Sasau River. That one before the charcoal burners camp. You might still catch him there with a bit of luck.
There aren't many fords along the river on the way to Sasau. Can you tell me anything else about him?
Fine gent he was. well dressed, on horseback. Had quite a lot to say. Seems he saw a bit of the world. And he had some interesting looking dice.
You said they fell well for him?
Aye, no wonder. Fine dice they was, made special. All shiny and whatnot.
That's all I need to know.
Very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope I can be of help to you, Knight.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you after something? I'm afraid my friend here won't tell you much.
Your friend? Oh, I'm very sorry. And, well, I don't want to be insensitive, but I was hoping to get something from him. My master's necklace, which he won at dice.
Your master? Who would that be?
Well, Sir Radzig Cobbler of Skalitz is my liege lord. I'm Henry, but just now I'm helping Sir Hans Capon with a private matter.
Those are weighty names in these parts. I'm Sir Anselm of Domkey, in the service of... well, that's not important. I'd like to give you... that is... I'd like to ask you for your help.
I'm listening. Tell me what you know.
I will. And I'm sure it will help you find that necklace. The thing is, this is all my fault. I got held up on the way to meet Alphonse. By the time I got here, I found him like this.
God have mercy on his soul.
Amen, lad. I was heartbroken and enraged by turns, tearing my hair and cursing. Alphonse was my good friend, and it pains me to know he was only here on account of me. I brought him into a certain business matter to negotiate with some people, and he agreed. And this is how it ended up. When I finally pulled myself together, I took a look around and found some tracks. I followed them to the camp of those very brigands that Alphonse was supposed to negotiate with.
Yeah, you can't trust anyone these days. So how can I help?
You can pass yourself off as Alphonse. Get into the bandits' camp and find that fucking murderer. And when you do, you'll find what you're looking for.
That doesn't make any sense. If one of them killed Alphonse, he'll know I'm not him.
No. They never saw him before. So whoever killed him surely took him for some passing merchant.
Are you quite sure they don't know him?
Aye. He moved in altogether different circles, among decent people. That's the very reason I asked him for help. So I reckon the best thing is for you to introduce yourself as Alphonse, have a snoop around, and come back to me when you find out anything.
Now, wouldn't it be better if you did that yourself? After all, I know nothing about this Alphonse. They'd see through me.
I'd do it if I could, lad. Only they know me, and I'm not on the best of terms with them. They'd most likely kill me on sight. Then the two of us would be dead and those bastards would get away with it.
Well, I hope I can avoid the same fate. Is there anything else I should watch out for while passing myself off as Alphonse?
The main thing is to look and sound like a noble, not a peasant, a commoner. So dress the part. No rags or rusty iron.
And how am I supposed to recognise the killer?
Ask around. I don't reckon anyone will admit to stabbing him in his sleep, but you might pick up some clue. You could have a look around for that necklace. Now that I think of it, they stole other valuables from him too.
Silver is silver, though. I won't recognise anything. Didn't he have something unique? A signet ring or a chain or...
No, not that I can... Oh yes, he did. Dice. He had a set of dice made specially in Prague. It was his pride and joy. They were red and gold, bright and shiny. Not the kind of thing you'd overlook.
What can you tell me about Alphonse? So they don't catch me out if they start asking questions.
Indeed. A few details should suffice. He was from Slani, but lived in Prague the last few years. He advised people, very well too. He helped them to deal with problems, of all kinds.
Yeah, he sounds like a man of the world, but I've never even been to Prague. I'm not sure I can fool them.
You can always change the subject. He was an ardent dice player, God forgive him. And he spent some time in Moravia on the service of Prokop of Luxembourg. But that was ages ago.
What do you know about the brigands in that camp?
Actually, they're not just ordinary bandits. It's a robber baron and his band. Sir Erhard Baron Bielowitz. Some of his vassals and maybe some commoners. They came here in the hope they'd have a better chance of keeping their heads.
Why don't you ask some of the local lords for help? I'm sure the Sasau custodian would lend you a few men.
There's nothing I'd like to see more than the lot of them strung up. Only I have a task that conflicts with that. And as for the custodian, I'm pretty sure Sir Sebastian is in league with Erhard.
What was the purpose of Sir Alphonse's negotiations? I'll need to know that.
Look, Henry, you'd best avoid that subject if at all possible. Just find the murderer for me, get your necklace, and I'll take care of the rest.
It'll be a bit hard to avoid that, since it was supposed to be the entire purpose of his visit.
True. Well, Alphonse was supposed to talk Erhard into moving his robbing raids towards Benishov, especially holding up merchants' wagons heading for Prague. In return, he was to offer a reward of up to 12,000 groschen and safe haven in Pilgrims.
I see. So you work for someone in Pilgrims?
No, neither Pilgrims nor Benishov. Nor Vlachim, for that matter. It's a bit complicated. Damn politics.
My word. The whole thing sounds like quite a twisted affair.
So are you going to help me?
I'll help you. I'll have to go there to look for the necklace anyway, and this seems as good a way as any.
Thanks 1,000-fold. And for the love of God, don't get caught. I'd never forgive myself if another man lost his life on my account. If it starts to look risky, take to your heels.
I'll bear that in mind. Looks like he died without a struggle. Maybe killed in his sleep. They took everything he had. Money, jewellery, even his boots. Someone was searching for something here. Were they out to rob him of everything he had? Or something in particular? Could it Maybe someone was trying to get rid of something here. There's something else I'd like to ask. I've no more questions.
Yeah. 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 Me?
Well, now, what are you doing here? Oh. What do you want here? Go and play your game somewhere else.
Hey, who's that?
Can I do anything to help?
Who are you?
Would I be right in assuming this is the encampment of Sir Erhard, Baron Deliverance?
You must be Sir Alphonse, eh? All the way from Prague, eh?
Not at all, Goodman. From Slaney.
Ah, well, that's quite a haul. How was your journey?
As well as might be expected in these perilous times.
Oh, aye. The roads ain't safe at all these days. There's all sorts of rabble waiting to rob unwary folk and even kill them.
Indeed, I concur. One must be wary, well, cautious even, when travelling.
Right then, but you'll have to wait a while. Sir Erhard is busy at the moment.
No matter, I shall just,
But it's easy to pass the time here. There's always a dice game going on, with nice things being wagered. I had my eye on a fine pair of gauntlets, and some old piece of jewelry.
Jewelry, you say?
That's right. Just go and see old Blaha, the fellow sitting at that table there. He can read, write, and do sums as good as any scribe, and other things, too. He keeps things in shape here a bit.
Thank you. I may well do that. I was told I could have a game or two here until Sir Erhard has time to see me.
Aye, he's got his hands full at the moment. You must be Sir Alphonse, eh? I'm Blaha, Sir Erhard's servant. I take care of things here a bit.
Including dice? It has come to my attention that there are interesting things being wagered.
True enough, we've got a fine pair of plate gauntlets, 2 necklaces, one of them's a lovely piece, a good sharp sword, and some other things, I don't remember what. The custom here is if you want to play, you've got to wager something to join.
Yeah, I'm gonna get soaked. What else
Do you
is there
really
to
think
do
it's appropriate to ask your lord's guest to pay for his own entertainment?
Since you put it that way, sir,
So hungry.
no, perhaps not. You want to play right away, or...?
Why wait? I'll play now.
No beating around the bush. That's the way. You'll play against Noggin now. He's not the brightest, and he ain't a good loser.
I just want to sleep. Fuck. Fuck. No one to rob, eh? Fucking boring. Rivers of blood and a bloody flood. What a shitty day. I need a good scrap to cheer me up. Fuck. I'm almost sober again.
I want to rob me. Fucking boy. So hungry I can eat my food.
I just want to eat and sleep. And fuck.
Fucking sick. Can't drink. Fucking sick. Can't drink no more today. I got a place. Fucking sick, man. Can't drink no more today. Fuck. I'm almost sober again.
Killing, fighting, never losing, robbing, fucking whores and boozing. Take the women to the village to annihilate and killing. Burning, wrecking, making strife, absolutely is robbers.
Drink, annihilate, and killing. Burning, making strife. How sweet it is. A robber's life.
Dump life sure ain't easy. Fuck.
Fucking weather. Killing, fighting, never losing, robbing, fucking whores and boozing. Take the women from the village, drinking, annihilate and killing. Burning, wrecking, making strife. House is a robber place. Oh fuck, almost sober. Stink everywhere. Should have stayed home. Killing, fighting, never losing, bombing.
You're a fucking cheat. Sir, I challenge you to a duel.
I won't take any accusations from you. I accept.
So hungry.
You're lucky I'm in a good mood. Go on, vanish. If I see you again, I'll kill you.
Thank you. I won't forget.
I want to play dice. Who will be my opponent?
They fell your way last time, and no mistake. You'll play Berta. He's a man, but they call him that for some reason. Damned if I know why.
I'm gonna get soaked. What else is there to do here? She did. I need a good scrap to cheer me up. Can't ride for it easy. Fuck. I gotta piss. Fucking weather, fucking tents, fucking camp. I've had enough of this shit. So hungry I can eat my food.
Sir Erhard will receive you now.
so tired.
The bastard wanted to put the
As
blame
if
on
we
the
hadn't
draper,
enough
so he
trouble
stole
with
his
that
tinderbox
fish.
and planted it there.
I want to play dice. Who will be my opponent?
They fell your way last time. You'll play against Maladata. He's a bit... well... you'll see.
Rivers of blood and of bloody blood.
I'm so hungry I can eat my boots. What a shitty day. I need a good scrap to cheer me up.
What a shitty day. I need a good scratch.
What did you used to do before all this? You wouldn't believe me. I was a sentry at Rattles. So they paid kitchen fees. So I joined up with this lot instead. You? Sentry? You're having me on. Nah, it's true. So now it's your turn. What did you do before? Well, I made candles for the monastery. What? Yeah, that lad. I made candles for the monks and killed them up their asses.
Rivers of blood and of bloody blood.
The blessing of our Lord Jesus Christ upon you, Baron Belevets. I'm honoured to make your acquaintance.
The pleasure is mine, sir. We haven't had any interesting visitors here for a long time, and I'm keen to hear what news you bring. And then there's the matter of our trade.
Indeed, we certainly have much to discuss. Sir.
Good. And how was your journey, Sir Alphonse?
Long and somewhat fatiguing, truth be told.
Ah, would you rather put off our talks until later?
If you wouldn't mind, I would rather postpone our talks until later. The journey has left me somewhat, indispensed with.
Of course, I quite understand. Go and get some rest then. We'll meet later and thrash everything out properly.
Well, I was a sentry at Ratai, but they paid chicken feed, so I joined up with this lot instead. You? A sentry? You have it.
I want to play dice. Who will be my opponent?
Maybe this time you'll fare better. Then there's Pekuna. He's a local fellow who brings stuff for us. He put up a nice necklace as his wager.
What's he doing here?
What a shitty day. I need a good scrap to cheer me up.
Fucking weather, fucking tent, fucking camp. I've had enough of this shit. Fuck. I'm almost sober again.
Sorry, I traded them for bees yesterday. You get them soon, you know?
I'll take them off the first idiot that touches that path.
With your luck, it's gonna be a beggar monk with no shoes at all.
You can say that. Seriously, I'd sooner go barefoot than have to find these turds again. Killing, fighting, never losing, robbing, fucking whores and boozing. Take the women from the village, drink, annihilate and pillage. Running, wrecking, making strife. How sweet it is, a robber's life.
No one to rob, eh? Fucking boring. What did you used to do before all this? You wouldn't believe it. I was essentially a rat tail. But they paid chicken food. So I joined up with this lot instead.
You, essentially? Having me on.
Nah, it's the truth. Tonight's your turn. What did you do before?
Well, I made candles for a monastery.
What? You hear that, lads? We made candles for the monks and shut them on their asses.
I'm so hungry I could eat my boots.
No one to rob, eh? Fucking boring.
I'll never get used to that. Hey, wash yourself once in a while. You wash yourself. My granddad's brother drowned bathing in a pond. I'm not taking the risk. I only wash when it's raining.
How did I do?
You must be chasing
Have I won?
away with a stick.
Actually, nobody won. You and Pecuna have the same score, so you'll have to play one more game to decide the victor.
Well, let's play then.
I'm so tired.
Mother of God, is back again.
I'm so tired. Fucking weather. Fucking tent. Fucking camp. I've had enough of this shit. Killing, fighting, never losing, robbing fucking whores and thieving.
With your luck, it's going to be a beggar monk with no shoes at all. Don't even say that. Seriously,
How did I do? Have I won?
Well now, Sir Alphonse, you took 'em all by storm. Here's the key to the prize.
Thank you kindly. Can you tell me something about yourself?
What can I tell you? I can read and write a bit, and I help Sir Erhard out when he needs it. Although, I have to say, since the Baron took to robbing, there's not much work for me anymore.
And what did he do before that?
What every landed noble does. He still had some estates and income from them, only he lost it all some years ago on account of debts. So he had to find some other livelihood.
How did he find this place?
That was my doing. I heard from a scribe about some ownership feud that ended up badly for both sides. Since then, it's been left neglected.
Oh, that's a shame. No doubt it was once a fine place.
Aye, the vagaries of fortune, eh? Times are harsh and what have you. It's always been that way and always will. I wonder how many burned-out, abandoned ruins will be left when Sigismund withdraws. How many folk will have no homes to return to? And how many won't be returning ever? But that's our lot in this vale of tears. There'll be no peace and quiet till the next life.
Amen to that. What's going on here anyway? It all seems a little odd.
Haven't you ever been in the camp of a merry band of robbers?
Never quite this merry, to tell the truth.
They've got their loot, and now they want some fun. Booze, dice, and women. I'm the only girl here. They're more interested in dice, anyway. And boozing. And they're no fun at all.
Well, they seem very fond of their dice, all right.
Aye. They always play the same way. Every player bets his most valuable piece of loot, and the winner takes all. It ends in a fight most times, although it's a long time since anyone got killed over it.
I'd better watch my step then.
You do that, handsome. It'd be a shame to spoil that pretty face.
I'm so tired.
I'm almost sober again. No one to rob you. Fucking boring.
No one to rob you.
So hungry, I eat my food.
Can I ask you something?
Ask away. Anything to pass the time.
You're my daughter, right?
I am. Why'd you ask?
Was curious. This is quite an interesting retreat you men have here.
You could put it that way. I ain't been here long, though. I helped them out of a tight spot and they took me with them.
Is that right? How did that happen?
Well, I was lying in wait for this wagoner, see? Because he'd been mouthing off about me, so I figured I'd take all he had for compensation. Anyway, I'm hiding there in the bushes, and I hear this wagon coming, so I jumped out to ambush him. Only it wasn't that wagoner, but some merchant. As soon as he saw me with my weapon drawn, he started screaming bloody murder, and next thing, his armed escort comes charging up and I was the one ambushed. The injustice of it.
Vexing indeed.
Aye. Anyway, they caught me and took me with them. They figured I was Sir Erhardt's spy, and they wanted me to lead them to him. Of course, I told them I didn't know what the fuck they were on about. So, while they were threatening to break me on the wheel, string me up and what have you, along comes the Baron with his merry band, and they lay into the soldiers and send them running for the hills. And ever since then, I've been riding with them.
That is quite an entertaining anecdote.
Ain't it just? If it hadn't been for me, the fellas would have run straight into a trap and it'd all be up with them. So, it's on account of me, they're still alive.
And how are things here? Do you get away much?
We ain't allowed to leave. So I've been here the whole time. I don't mind though. There's always something to pass the time. And we've got that wench.
You're my daughter?
I am.
Just curious.
You could put it.
You must tell me all about it some other time.
If you like.
That's all. Can I ask you something?
Ask away.
Tell me something about yourself.
Why do you want to know? You want to spread the word about what a good dice player I am?
Yeah, I was just curious.
You know what they say. Curiosity killed the cat. But if you must know, they call me Berta. And I'm Sir Erhardt's right-hand man.
Berta?
Ah, you heard of me, have you? The Scourge of Vlashim. No man who felt the edge of my axe lived to tell the tale.
Why are you hiding out here?
I wouldn't call it hiding. We're just having a bit of a rest.
From what?
Things were getting a bit too hot for us. Nobody bothers us here, just as long as we don't show our faces in Sasau.
Don't you leave the camp at all?
What are you trying to say? That we're shitting ourselves here?
No. I was just wondering if you knew what's going on around these parts.
We come across hunters now and then, or pilgrims on the road. There are charcoal burners nearby, and sometimes they pass the time of day with us. But we've got no cause to cross the river. That's too close to Sasau.
can I have a word with you?
What do you want?
What's your story? You don't look like one of them at all.
I ain't, true enough. I'm a local. I don't go raiding with them. When they're here, I just look out for them, bring them supplies and that.
And what do you do when they're not here?
Whatever's needed. But being the go-between for them that set up the ambushes pays well, and you don't have to risk your neck for it.
Can you tell me something about the camp here?
This place? It's been here as long as I can remember. I used to come here as a youngster to play with my mates. Anyway, one time I had to lie low for a bit, so I came here and ran into these gentlemen, who pay good coin when you bring them some wine and a bit of grub.
Why did you have to disappear?
Nothing terrible. Just that I was courting this one girl, only her old man and her brothers didn't take to me. Besides which, she was promised to some rich merchant. Once they had her married off, they forgot about me, though.
I'll leave you to it.
Hey!
Can I ask something?
I have nothing to do with cheats.
Can't drink no more. Good thing too. The less bastards like him there are.
The chief doesn't want to see you.
I've had enough of this shit. I'm so hungry, I could eat my boots. So tired. Drink no more.
Annihilates and pillage, burning, wrecking.
The chief doesn't want to see you.
What was that noise?
Fuck! What did you do with me?
Yeah.
have good news for you, Sir Anselm. I know who killed your friend. Who was it? It was Mladotta, one of the brigands.
How did you find out?
From the dice.
All right. I'll take care of it from here. And I owe you for helping me. Here, Henry, take this. I'm sorry I don't have more on me. But if you're ever in Prague, come and look me up, and I'll see you're well taken care of.
It's been a pleasure, Sir Anselm. Godspeed.
Curse it! Christ!
God be with you, lad. What can I do for you?
I've got that necklace.
Excellent news! I'm not going to ask you how you did it. Here's a reward for you. Now you can carry on with your next task. I want you to sneak the jewellery into Carolina's trunk along with this letter.
Can't I just hand them to her?
You cannot! Under no circumstances must she find out who sent them. Otherwise the whole secret admirer ploy is fucked. Oh, and by the way, Henry, watch out for the butcher. He keeps a very close eye on his daughter, and if he catches you sniffing around, well, may all the saints preserve you. Once you've delivered the things, wait a day, and then come back and see me.
Good luck, then.
Yeah. What are you doing?
You meant to be in the monastery, lad?
What? All I ask of you is a crust of bread, a groschen, whatever you can spare.
Well, if it isn't the world-renowned victor of the rat-eye tourney, Henry of Skalitz.
I delivered the things, as you asked.
I already know. My spies told me everything. She was wearing the necklace this morning, as I asked in the letter.
So you'll go to the rendezvous with her?
Certainly not. I'm not going to pounce on her like a bull in rutting season. Her feelings must be allowed to mature gradually. Meanwhile, you'll get a potion for me.
I thought you didn't believe in witches' brews.
This is no witch's brew. It's an absolutely tried and tested elixir called Musk of Infinite Allure. There's a fellow in Sassau who sells it, and he guarantees its success.
Musk of Infinite Allure? Sounds irresistible. All right, I'll try and get it for you.
I'm sure I can rely on you. Here's some coin for your costs. Good luck, then.
Adam, listen. You're a friendly fella, and you know a thing or two about the tavern trade. How would you like to be my innkeeper?
What? Me? Innkeeper?
I've got a tavern in Pribyslavitz. Sir Divish put me in charge of building new homes there. But who wants to live in a village without an alehouse? And someone's got to run it.
I'd love to, Henry, but I can't just now. But come back to me another time, if you're still interested. Take care.
Well, well, who have we here?
Ah, the prodigal son returns. I knew you'd come back to me one day.
Let me guess, you saw it in a dream?
I knew you were going to say that.
But I had a divine revelation. But next time I won't be around to pull you out of the shit.
Oh, well, I am sorry. But these things are sent to try our fortitude in the face of adversity.
I'd like to try your fortitude. I've heard you know of some irresistibility potion or whatever it is.
Ah, naturally! Musk of Infinite Allure! An age-old recipe, maybe even older. Tested by Moses himself.
Moses?
How do you think he managed to get his people to follow him through the desert for 40 years? It's extremely potent.
Yeah, so it would seem. How much do you want for it?
Who do you take me for? The wisdom of the ancients isn't something that's bought and sold in the marketplace. Did Jesus charge for his miracles? But since you ask, how about this much?
Looks like it's going to be a good year for the apples. I reckon we're in for a decent...
What? That much? You're a crook.
As King Solomon said, honesty is for those who can afford it. If you like, I can mix the elixir for you in exchange for a small favor.
Oh, not again.
Now, is that any tone to use with your master? For shame.
Apologies, master. I was carried away by my thirst for knowledge.
I understand your impatience, but the way to wisdom is narrow and arduous.
And leads out the window. So what is it you want from me now?
Ah, my dear apprentice, everything's gone to the devil. I'm living from hand to mouth, sleeping on straw, and the local peasants won't buy from me. They say they don't trust me, as if I was some kind of charlatan. Can you believe it? Does this look to you like the face of a swindler? I'm an honest trader in sacred goods, whose only concern is the welfare of troubled souls.
A regular Good Samaritan.
And any time now the slanderous gossip will spread here from Sassau. I should leave before things get worse. But I can't go anywhere until I've made a bit of coin. So what's needed is to give the locals a bit of encouragement, to open their hearts and purses.
I'm not going to go around beating people for you.
What do you take me for? I wouldn't hurt a fly. Violence is for the dull-witted. We must gently demonstrate to them the necessity of buying my remedies. For example, to ward off a revenant.
Revenant? What revenant?
The dead return from the grave, a corpse that the soul is unable to depart from, which wanders among the living, filled with rage at its wretched fate.
Yeah, I saw something like that once, but it was just some drunk going home from the tavern after losing all his money at dice.
Don't make light of such things. Now tell me, do you know how to deal with a revenant?
Chop its head off and sprinkle holy water on it?
That is the traditional way of dealing with such supernatural manifestations. You are my trained apprentice, but the ignorant villager is entirely at a loss how to deal with such dark forces. It is our sacred duty to prepare them for such threats.
And how do you propose to do that?
Well, they're all doubting Thomases. They need proof. We'll need a grave, an empty grave that we can use. There's one along the way to Sasau, but it's got one minor shortcoming.
What's that?
Well, it's not entirely empty.
Not entirely? What does that mean?
You have to dig it up first.
Why this particular grave?
The locals don't like to talk about it, so it's surely got some sinister past behind it. And in places like that, revenants sprout up like mushrooms after rain.
Well, if that's how it is, we could open old wounds. That could easily set people against us. Again.
Then it would be best if no one could connect us to it, wouldn't it?
I'll need a spade then.
Yes, dig it up and remove the remains, leaving no trace.
And what am I to do with the remains?
Keep them. Human remains are always handy to have around.
Great. And how do we spread the word of this revenant?
There's a gossip in every village. Here, too, a woman who'll spread news quicker than a dozen messengers on the fastest steeds.
And what am I to tell this gossip?
All you have to do is casually mention the empty grave, and before evening, I'll wager the whole village will know about it.
Where does this woman live?
The last house on the left, on the road to Sasau. She was the first person I met here, and by the time I reached the village green, I already had a mob looking suspiciously at me. The rumor-mongering fishwife.
And that's all?
Not quite. You should ask her who was buried there. So we've got a story to work with.
So, dig up the grave, talk to the gossip.
And the remains. Don't forget to remove them. Otherwise, no one will believe in the revenant.
I might have known any task for Capon would turn into some insane escapade. Grave robbing. Jesus.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Same as usual, but add some rosemary and juniper.
God be with you, good wife. Has something happened here?
Things ain't what they used to be, but we're a lot better off than that Scalit's lot.
And what about that empty grave?
What empty grave would that be now?
The one beyond the village, alongside the road to Sasau. Just by the river, on the Pine Headland.
How would you know it's empty, unless it was dug up?
Oh, it's dug up, all right. Freshly. And empty. I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Lord in heaven, what in the name of...
How come it's not in hallowed ground, anyway? Only unrepentant sinners are buried like that. Usually.
I don't like to say. It's an old wound that's best forgotten.
Whose grave is it?
Well, once a long time ago there was a young charcoal burner living here with his wife. There was always a lot of charcoal burners here, but this fellow worked alone. That's not an easy job for one man.
Well, no one wanted to work with him, or what?
Oh, he was a hard-headed fellow who always wanted to take care of his family himself.
Well, I can understand that. It's always better to work for yourself than break your back for someone else.
His wife was expecting, though no one knew it yet, and he wasn't doing well at all. Soon enough they had nothing to eat, and so he took to thieving.
Well, thieving is wrong.
Aye, but when there's a child on the way and your wife hasn't the strength to get out of bed for the hunger, well, you ought to think differently.
And did he get caught?
Well, at first it was just a few eggs going missing from people's hen coops, but then it was anything that wasn't nailed down, and in the end they caught him.
And I suppose he was harshly punished for it.
Even then he didn't let on why he was doing it. They whipped the skin off his back and banished him from Leditchko.
So justice was done then?
It wasn't enough for some folk. When the butcher found out he'd never get any compensation, he wanted them to chop off the charcoal burner's hands. If the bailiff hadn't talked sense into him, he'd have done it himself with his cleaver.
Well, he got off lightly enough then.
And in the end, he got what was coming to him, and more.
The butcher caught up with him?
No. It was the mills of God turning slowly but surely. His wife bled to death in childbirth, and the child died with her.
I'm sorry to hear that. But at least he knew they were gone to a better place.
True, lad.
Nothing could have been done to save them.
There was no one there. He had no one who would care for his wife. They say on that day he parted ways with God forever, and he turned his back on the village too. I reckon he never forgave himself, nor us either.
The Lord moves in mysterious ways. But how did he end up?
Don't ask me that, lad. I beg you.
Sorry, good wife. Let's leave it be.
Thanks, lad.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you here for?
I know who was buried in that grave. A young charcoal burner.
So begins the tragic tale of the young charcoal burner who became entangled with the devil himself.
Oh, don't start. What devil? I'm trying to tell you. Ugh. He was from Ledetchko. He was trying to eke out a living for himself and his wife, but he couldn't manage. When she fell pregnant, he took to stealing.
Pride drove him from the straight and narrow path, and soon he sold his soul to the devil to fill his stomach.
They caught him and punished him, but some of the people he'd robbed didn't think it was enough. Then when his wife died in childbirth, and the child too, he blamed everyone for it. Even God, apparently.
But when the time came to pay his debt to hell, the devil had no use for his soul, and took his wife and child instead. The charcoal burner cursed God, who struck him down in righteous vengeance. But the dead man's soul never left his body. He came back as a revenant, to vent his rage at God and men, and take vengeance on the living.
Jesus, did you listen to what I said at all?
Sorry, did you say something?
Oh, never mind. What do you want me to do with it?
The question is, what would the revenant do to get revenge on the villagers? Well, apprentice?
He cursed God. That's very serious.
What is it that most brings God to mind?
They don't have a church there. But everyone will have a rosary. I can't think of anything else.
That's it! If folks start losing their rosaries, they'll have sleepless nights over it.
You want me to steal rosaries? But that's...
Or just exchange them.
For what?
For nothing.
Great. He was stealing food from people, right? So, supposing he started again.
We should steal from people? Disgraceful. Have you no shame?
Maybe just a few eggs from hen coops, like the gossip mentioned.
Well, that wouldn't be too serious a sin. Will they put it down to the revenant, though?
They would, if I put some charcoal there instead.
And their nourishment he turned into ash.
The gossip mentioned the butcher. It seems he was infuriated that the charcoal burner's punishment was too lenient.
And the revenant spoiled their meat with his malign touch.
How's that?
Spoiled meat is a classic example of a revenant's power.
I thought it was the work of bad butchers.
That too, sometimes.
So, I should switch the good meat for bad at the butcher's. What about the butcher woman?
What about her?
Her conscience was troubled on account of her man, and she couldn't sleep. But I helped her, so she's found some peace.
So, no problem then.
What? I'm supposed to scare the wits out of her and start all over again?
All right. If you can find some other solution, you don't have to switch the meat. But I wouldn't worry about her. But make sure it's the same kind of meat. Not even a revenant will turn a cow into a chicken.
What about his wife and child? No doubt he'd want to avenge their death.
Well, how did they die?
In childbirth.
And when his love turned to rage, the water turned to blood. Nothing too original. But it's tried and tested. If you do it at the baths, everyone will hear of it.
How am I supposed to do that? It might be a bit suspicious if I'm seen walking around with a pail of blood.
No problem. There's a certain potion that will do the trick easily. So, switch eggs for charcoal, switch the meat, color the water in the baths, and switch the rosaries. That ought to do it. I hope so. Of course, if you come up with anything else, don't let me hold you back. Talking to people might give you ideas. Traders, the bailiff.
Well, what if someone sees me in the act?
They mustn't. Otherwise, it'll end up like Sasau all over again. Don't draw attention to yourself, or they'll put two and two together.
Sure. I'll keep my head down. And how will I know if I've succeeded? I doubt it'll be announced on the market square.
I'll be the first to know. They'll come running to me for a remedy, like hens at feeding time. Off you go and raise hell.
Right, I'll get to it then.
Goodbye.
Chickens. That should be no problem. Lamb. And I'll need lots of it if I'm to switch it all. Hang on, this is venison. From roe deer. No wonder it's under lock and key.
Is that some... Aren't you meant to be in the monastery, lad?
What's the recipe for that potion you were talking about?
You mean for coloring the water? Ah, well...
Well?
Pay close attention now.
I'm all ears.
How love turned to bloodshed. Once there was a knight who, though upright and noble-looking, had a prickly, unapproachable appearance. He fell in love with a fragile young maid, whom he saw with her sisters in a field, all wearing bright red wimples. But he was afraid his prickly exterior would frighten her. So he asked the advice of another knight, a pious and learned crusader, who carried the name of the patron saint of his order with pride. The pious knight told him he would arrange a rendezvous with the maid. All three would drink wine together by the river, and he would help his friend to get acquainted with her. This they did, but the maid fell in love instead with the pious knight. The stern knight was enraged and challenged his rival to a duel. The two fought long and fiercely, but they were equally matched, and so, in the end, they both fell mortally wounded. Anguished at the tragedy her beauty had caused, the young maid took a dagger from one of the knights and plunged it into her own heart. Their bodies lay together on the ground, and the blood flowed from them into the river, turning the waters crimson.
I thought you were going to tell me the recipe, not some fable.
It is the recipe. I mean, the recipe is concealed in the story.
What on earth for?
So I don't forget it.
All right. So what does it mean?
I can't remember.
Great. So if you don't know, who does?
You'll figure it out, my loyal apprentice. I remember there are 3 plants in the story, but that's about all. But I know it was a simple recipe. It should be enough to grind the ingredients and brew them together for one turn. So, all you have to do is work out what the ingredients are from the story.
Sure. Why make things simple if you can complicate them?
Yeah.
And get a move on, because you really don't smell good. God be with you.
God be with you.
So, how am I doing so far?
Good work, Henry. The whole village is shaking in its boots. Soon people won't step outside the door without saying 3 Hail Marys.
Ugh, I'm glad to hear it. I'm beginning to feel haunted myself.
Everyone is talking about how all the butcher's meat went off after being touched by the hand of evil.
What, does this look like the hand of evil to you?
No one in Ledechko would eat a single egg, even if they had any, because all the hens are hexed.
Well, at least they've got fuel for their fires.
The baths are closed. No one will tell you why, but everyone is clearly frightened. Half the village is without rosaries. Someone even wanted to buy one from me.
And did you sell it?
I don't trade in such banal goods. But I sold him a cat's paw.
I didn't know a cat's paw was good for warding off revenants.
Henry, all the goods I have are good for warding off revenants.
So, the job is done, eh?
Not quite.
But you just said the whole village is shaking with fear.
The whole village, but for one individual.
Well, surely that doesn't matter.
That's what I thought too. Only this fellow is giving everyone the benefit of his wisdom. He needs shaking up before he undoes your good work.
But if he's not been scared yet, what more can I do to frighten him?
Well, when he's not hanging around here ruining my trade, he's in the tavern boasting that he'd happily sleep by that empty grave to prove there's no revenant.
Yeah, I bet he would.
Exactly. He just needs a little persuasion. And once he's there, make it the most terrifying night of his life.
Well, what are we waiting for then?
It's best to be well prepared. You ought to find out something about him, so there's no surprises.
The gossip woman?
Naturally. And Henry, before we get to that grave, you can still try and come up with more ways to frighten the villagers. The more terrified they are, the more groschen there'll be in it for me. For us, that is. God be with you.
Good morning.
Problems with stomach ulcers?
Good wife.
You're still here, lad? I thought you'd have fled by now.
Fled? Why on earth would I do that?
Because there's a revenant on the prowl. The whole village is talking about it, and everyone is terrified.
Ah, that. But I heard there's one brave lad who's not afraid.
You mean Felix?
Well, I don't know what his name is, but he's always arguing in the tavern that there's no revenant.
That's him. The fool doesn't believe what's going on under his own nose. He hasn't the sense he was born with.
Is he brave or just stupid? Surely he's afraid of something.
I couldn't tell you. But if he's to be believed, he doesn't fear the devil himself.
And do you believe him?
Well, it's true he never seems bothered by anything. But then he's always with that other pair.
What pair?
2 mates of his.
But he was alone in the tavern.
Aye, they're not locals. But outside the village, wherever he goes, they go with him.
He even said he'd spend the night at the graveside, just to prove there's no revenant.
Aye, all talk and no action.
Who are these two fellas?
They're not bad lads, but they're no heroes, that's for sure.
How's that?
Them two have their fears, but then who doesn't?
What are they afraid of?
The first one wouldn't even go into the woods alone, because he's afraid of wild animals.
Ah, is that so? I wonder why.
He got lost in the forest as a young lad, and he wasn't found till next morning. Shaking and pale as a ghost he was when they found him.
Poor lad. Must have been scared out of his wits.
That he was.
What about the other one?
He's afraid of fire.
Why?
Powder made of
His own father burned him, God forgive him. As a young lad, he was playing with fire and nearly set fire to the house. So his pa taught him a lesson he wouldn't forget.
Poor lad. That's a terrible way to teach a child.
My words, exactly.
Ah, it's been an interesting chat. Thanks, good wife.
Take care.
Jerusalem.
This brave fella, Felix his name is, if we can get him to spend the night at the grave, he won't be alone. Wherever he goes, he always has two mates tagging along.
Like he's afraid to be alone.
Could be.
So, if we could get him there alone, it shouldn't be too hard to scare him.
Maybe, maybe not. He claims he's not afraid of anything.
That's easy to say. I'm not so sure. Only, we have to get rid of the other two. What do you know about them?
One of them is afraid of wild animals. Won't even go into the woods on his own.
I see. And the other one?
Well, he's afraid of fire, but I doubt an ordinary campfire would do the trick.
Well, we'll think of something. Anyway, you take care of the first one.
How, though?
Haven't you learned anything from me? Talk to a dog.
Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Any particular one, Master?
The most frightening one, of course.
And how am I supposed to recognise him? One looks the same as another.
By his bark, naturally. Can't you hear him? He'd scare the wits out of anyone.
That's a dog.
Either that or Satan in the guise of a beast.
All right. And what do I do with him?
Have a conversation with him and see if you can mimic his bark.
Yeah, great idea. People will think I'm barking mad.
Take care now.
Come on then. Bark. What a beast you are. All right, let's see. Ruff. Ruff. Again. Boo. 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 That's still not quite it. No. That's it. And now I'm officially the village idiot.
So, how did you get on?
I found that mutt. Although from the noises it made, you'd hardly guess it was a dog.
So you've learned to bark?
I have, Master.
So bark.
I never thought I'd stoop so low. Whoa! Whoa!
Perfect!
But what if it's not enough?
Ah, ye of little faith. Besides, can you think of any other way?
If we want to have him there on his own, I could always knock the other two out.
And what if he finds them unconscious?
I can always haul them off somewhere he won't find them.
Just make sure you don't botch it, Henry. It could easily turn very sour.
Don't worry. But what about the other fella?
Ah, yes, apprentice. You have the good fortune to witness a genius at work. Watch and learn. An oil lamp.
An oil lamp?
Precisely. Isn't it ingenious?
A marvellous invention, I grant you. But what do you want to do with it?
That's the clever part. I've hung a lamp like this over the Revenant's grave. All you have to do is shoot it down. It'll fall on the grave and burst into flames.
Well, that could work. Only...
Only what?
How can you be sure I'll manage to shoot it down?
I believe in you, Henry. You're my apprentice, versed in the ways of our craft.
Right, I almost forgot.
Anyway, you can practice. The lamp is already hanging up. It just hasn't been lit yet.
Aye, I'll give it a go. And then what?
Then you just have to goad our Felix into putting his money where his mouth is.
But what if he doesn't fall for it?
Refusing would ruin his credibility. Go and see him. I'll bet you anything, if you present it right, he'll jump at it.
All right, I'll give it a try.
Good. Don't delay, though. Practice with the lamp first, if you like, or just go straight to him.
Yeah.
A.
Yeah.
That noise.
Yeah.
I've heard there's a revenant haunting these parts.
Ah, you don't want to believe those old wives' tales.
Well, it's not true then.
Of course not. It's just a lot of fairy tales.
Yeah, give me a minute.
No, I don't know. Aren't you afraid?
Ha! What's there to be afraid of?
Well, that's easy to say.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing. It's just that, well, bold talk doesn't prove anything.
Are you saying I'm lying?
I'm saying I don't think you have the balls to back up your talk.
If it'll shut you up, I'll gladly sleep by the grave.
That I would love to see. So when are you going to do it?
Just as soon as I can in the evening.
Right. And now you can... Shh! Quiet, Henry. You'll give us away.
Sorry. What's that you're wearing?
What do you think it is?
I don't know, some new fashion?
It's my revenant costume, of course.
My apologies, Master, for not recognising it immediately.
You obviously still have a lot to learn.
So, did they come?
Yes, all three. They're camping at the top of the hill.
Right. I'll have time to get haunting then. Where do I start?
I'll leave that up to you. The main thing is to scare off the two cronies first. I'll take care of fearless Felix.
So I'll scare one off with the lamp?
Yes, just make sure no one sees you shooting.
And the other one with fearsome noises?
That will probably take a few attempts. Ideally, a bit at a time.
Let him work up an appetite for more, so to speak.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Just don't give yourself away.
I won't, but if they do happen to see me coming...
Then you'd better vanish like a wisp of smoke, or make some excuse.
And what will you be doing?
I'll wait somewhere out of the way for a while, and then I'll crash in. So make sure the other two are gone by then.
All right.
Hey, what was that? A wolf? Christ, that noise again. What the... Oh, probably nothing. God, no! I can't stand this! No, no, please, no! They're everywhere! They'll devour me! Jesus Christ, I've got to get away from here!
What's that noise? What kind of animal makes a noise like that?
That was something!
How did you like that, eh?
Wonderful! I haven't had so much fun since I dressed up as the Pope!
Did you see him run? Like all the demons of hell were on their heels.
One was quite enough, evidently.
So what now?
Now I just wait for my customers to turn up. Come and see me tomorrow before noon, and you'll get your well-earned reward. Host, baked in the Temple of Jerusalem.
My respects to you.
About that recipe.
Yes, you want to buy it?
Never mind. It can wait.
As you wish. Take care now. Ah, my dear apprentice, how happy I am to see you.
So, it all worked out then?
Like a dream. I didn't sell half as much in Sasau.
That's good news. Now, about that thing you promised me.
Your well-deserved reward, certainly. Here you have it. Here's something extra for you. I sold a lot more than I expected, and I think it's all thanks to you.
What will you do now?
I could go now. I've coin enough, but I'll wait a while before moving on.
Why? I thought you didn't want to stay too close to Sasau for long.
But what if you needed my help?
Indeed. How could I forget all you've done for me? Well, at least I'll know where to find you.
God be with you, lad. What can I do for you?
I got you that potion from the charlatan.
What charlatan? He's a man of learning who even cured the Pope of impotence. But thanks, Henry. I really appreciate your help. Once I drink this potion, every woman will faint at my feet. But I'm only interested in one. The fairest creature on God's green earth.
Yeah, the butcher's daughter, I know. And then what?
A rendezvous. She and I, under the cloak of night, and you shall be my herald of exalted words. You will hide and prompt me from a book of poetry.
I'll do what?
Here's a book of poems. I'll need a little time to get ready. Meanwhile, you can learn some poems off by heart. You'll prompt me.
Learn poetry? Me? That sounds... well, not exactly...
Stop wasting time and get to it. Come back to me in a couple of hours. I have to get dressed up and groomed, and it'll take a while before the potion takes effect.
See you later.
Are you ready, Sir Hans?
Henry, something's gone wrong.
Open up. I'm not going to talk to the door.
That potion tasted rather odd, and now I've a feeling my face is broken out. How do I look?
You're imagining it, sir. You look as irresistible as ever, if not more.
But I feel as if I just fell face first into a nettle patch.
You're just a little flushed from the excitement. It'll pass.
If you're sure. So, what do you think? Can we go to the rendezvous?
Why wait? Carolina won't be able to resist you.
All right, then. Lead on, heart. And you, Henry, follow me.
You have to have a light. It's the law.
Tell me, Henry, how many girls have you had in your life? If you've had any at all, that is.
Well, there's been a few, but I'm sure I can't compare with you.
Ha! Very true. One day plays will be written about my amorous adventures.
Comedies or tragedies?
That might depend on how things go tonight. There's another very pretty girl living in this house here, but she's already got a suitor.
Since when has that ever bothered you?
Since the time her fellow threw me headfirst into a dung heap and kicked my arse for good measure.
It seems your future subjects don't hesitate to take a stick to you when it comes to minding the women folk.
I doubt he would have done it if he recognized me. I was, incognito. We're almost there. You'll hide behind a gravestone or in the bushes and don't budge from there. Otherwise you might scare her off.
Hide, Henry. Time to get started.
How do you know it's her who will come out and not someone else?
She got the letter and necklace, didn't she? She knows that that is, her secret admirer is coming.
And what am I supposed to do?
What do you think, dolt? Prompt me from that book of poetry.
Who's there? I can't see you.
Your most ardent admirer, fair maid.
Uh-huh. And do you have a name?
What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would still be a flower, wouldn't it?
Start. How?
What are you saying? I can't hear you.
Gentle night, why linger on? I yearn thus for my love so long. Without her words to still my breast, who shall set my soul to rest?
Gentle night, why linger on? I earned this from my love so long. Whip out your worthy silky breasts. Who shall suck my salty bits?
No! And now my heart in sorrow dwells, from melancholic pining swells, since I, alas, was forced to part from the mistress of my heart.
I know my horses sort of well, some alcohol from 9 to 12. Seems I always have whores apart from the mistress of my heart.
Psst! What on earth are you saying?
What's that hissing?
It's a feral goose here in the bushes.
I shall love you then, my dear, as long as you lie with me here. If you'll not give your all to me, no longer shall I bide with thee.
I shall let you drink my beer, as long as you, buy one for me. If you'll not give your ale to me, no longer shall I buy for thee.
Jesus, Henry! What kind of yokel nonsense are you babbling?
Me? You're the one who's babbling?
You're an odd one. I've never heard such peculiar poetry in my life. Where on earth did you come up with it?
It's the latest fashion in France.
You've done enough harm. Better shut up and leave it to me.
How did you like it, dearest?
Ah, how tender you are. Father is coming! Hide!
Who is that talking? If it's some Danny again, I'll gut him with my filleting knife.
I didn't hear anyone.
Did you hear what he said?
But I have a bad feeling about this, Hans. I think we should...
Are you still there?
Still here, my love. How could I have apart from you?
Father's coming! He'll kill you!
He will not. Because it'll never cross his mind where I'll be. Henry, it's time for me to claim my prize. Whatever happens, cover my back.
There you are, you seducer! Now you'll see how a butcher protects his daughter's honor.
Buy me time.
You got some explaining to do, you bastard!
What are you after, you bastard sneaking around an honest citizen's house in the dark?
I went to mourn over the grave of my great-grandmother.
Oh, yeah. Then what are you doing right beneath my window, eh?
Well, the question is, why are you trampling on Great Granny's grave, eh?
Enough of your horse shit. One more word, and I'll have you.
Ah! What are you doing here?
Oh, my darling.
Get out! Get out or I'll call Papa.
My sweet. How can you be so cruel?
Hey, what was that?
What was what?
That noise. I'm sure I heard a strange noise.
We're here in the cemetery. Maybe restless spirits, what do you reckon?
I'd swear it came from the window of my own house.
What's that got to do with me?
Someone's been creeping around after my daughter. I come out and I find you here. Quite a coincidence, eh? So, out with the truth.
You're quite mistaken. I've never laid eyes on your daughter, and if she looks anything like you, I'd rather keep it that way.
Why, you fucking...
What do you think you're doing? Climbing in here, uninvited?
Ma chérie, I came to court you.
Then go and court me from the courtyard.
Don't try to make a fool of me. I heard it clearly. What was that?
Are you all right? It seems to me you're hearing things other folk can't hear. That's not good.
You're saying I'm hearing voices in my head?
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. St. Euphrosyne of Polotsk heard voices too, and she founded a monastery and churches and things.
I heard voices too. Well, could have been voices. I wouldn't swear to it, though.
Look, fellas, I was standing right here, and I didn't hear a thing. Do you take me for a madman?
Whatever you are, I want to know what you're doing under my daughter's window and who was talking to her. I heard it clear as day.
Good neighbour, it can't be denied that old age dulls a man's ears. I'm here alone, praying for the souls of the good people resting in the cemetery. I've nothing to do with your daughter.
That voice sounded different to yours, though. But where did he get to? You must have seen him. Unless you're covering for him.
What? You don't love me?
No, and I told you, get out!
Well, how about a kiss at least?
Out, out, out!
Oh, Christ almighty. It's haunted here. I knew I should never have come near this cemetery at night.
The only one doing any haunting here is you. And I'm done wasting time with you. I'll beat you to a pulp, and then that other bastard. You'll get the hiding of your life.
Gone weak at the knees, have you?
Give up!
Come here.
You'll get what for?
Yeah.
Well, if it isn't the world-renowned victor of the rat-eye tourney, Henry...
How did it go with Carolina, Sir Hans?
It was a disaster, Henry. A disaster.
How come? Didn't your recitation do the trick?
What kind of nonsense were you feeding me? Carolina thought I was a thief breaking in to rob the place. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She told me to get out, or she'd call her father.
Oh, you're lucky I managed to keep him busy. Only now he thinks I'm the village idiot.
Well, thanks for that, at least. Anyway, Carolina slammed the door in my face, so I suppose I'll have to look elsewhere for the love of my life.
Well, back to writing love letters.
To hell with love letters. Imagine. That silly goose couldn't even read.
Ah, shame. She missed out on something very rare.
Indeed. Here's the letter, Henry. Read it. At least you're capable of appreciating my literary talent. Read and learn from a poet. Goodbye. How are you, Henry?